I just woke up. I was about to start my analysis with my Forex trading. And, it's Labor Day today. So that just means we got to make sure we're doing a lot of labor. So, that's my understanding of it. So what we're going to do right now is we're actually going to go to the charts. We're going to put in the labor. I'm going to show you step by step how I analyze everything. And maybe we'll find some trades. Maybe we won't. At least you'll have something to look forward to this coming week as you can do all this analysis with me. So let's go ahead and head here onto the chart. So we're going to start from scratch here. So GBP AUD, I just use the daily and the 4-hour charts usually, most of the time. Sometimes I'll switch up different time frames like 1 hour, but daily and 4-hour. Where I see price right now is prices between this resistance zone here and it's between this supports down here. So what do we have? Right now we've got price kind of floating into it. We also have this little area here. However, the fact that price has broken through it a couple times, it's kind of just an area I'm going to disregard. We might get a little bit of a bounce from here, but I think it'd be safer to just not trade that zone. So what I'll be waiting for, it looks like price is kind of headed down for now. I'll be waiting for price to get in here in this support zone. And then what I'll be looking to do is either buy if I think it's going to bounce, or perhaps even sell if I think it'll be a breakout. And if it does break out below that zone, targets could go around here to the next high. Then we'll have to see if we think it'll break or bounce there, get out of the short position, and then keep on trading it. So that's what I think. GBP AUD made me a lot of money last week. I made like $70,000 on a setup. I made a YouTube video about it as it was coming from this resistance zone downwards. It broke and retested this zone. I got into a short position. This one came down and I made last week alone I made $95,000. So, and then just the GBP AUD setup was like 70K of that. So, GBP AUD has been pretty good to me. I'm going to keep watching her as we go into this week, and perhaps we can get some buys here at this little support zone. USDCHF. So I'm still thinking she's going to head downwards. There's a couple of reasons. She broke above and retested this little like daily support resistance zone, but she never got the momentum to go off. So when you see what happens is price makes a support zone, breaks below it, comes back and retests. If it's going to bounce, it generally does it pretty quickly. In this case here, it did it in 2-3 days before it started to get moving. This right here, right, have a nice little resistance zone on the daily 4-hour, came back and retested, and then it tried to bounce, but it didn't make a new high, right? Had a weak little dead cat bounce. That's what it's called, where it barely bounces. I just call it a dead cat bounce. Tried to bounce again, failed. Tried to bounce again, and we just had all these little lows here, and then finally it breaks through it last week. Going towards the end of the week, we had a nice little breakthrough Thursday, Friday of last week. So what I'm still thinking she's going to go down. It's taking a while. She needs to take her time. It is Labor Day after all. We're putting in the extra labor. USDCHF is taking an extra day off. And it's a Labor Day weekend. So we need to give her a little bit of a understanding and patience for that. And that's the whole point of the Labor Day. So what I did last week is I actually sold here at this resistance zone. It was a little simple break and retest trade, right? Price is making lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, broke the recent lows, came back and retested. And as it started to get moving to the downside, I just entered a short position. So that was my short position right there. You can see that it popped down below. This was like a $26,000 trade profit after fees and commissions. Again, $95,000 last week. $95,000. The past 2 weeks I made like $150,000 trading Forex. Absolutely crazy. And then God knows how much from crypto going up. It's been an insane month. I probably made like $350,000 this month in total. So I'm going to be looking for the same thing on USDCHF. If she pops back up here again, it's going to be a nice little sexy, waxy little trade going right there. So AUDJPY, I was already watching this going into last week. I was actually looking for a breakout above the zone. Looks like it's already broken out, came back to retest and started to bounce. We're still on an open daily candle. So this could still, as long as it closes above here, we could just see a retest. The idea would just be to buy it on the retest. That's all. It's just a simple break and retest trade. It's either going to bounce or it's going to break. So how would that look like in terms of like the actual trade? Well, let's say it closes up above here for the daily, screws around. Then it comes back to touch this zone, right, where all these little highs and lows are. There's a resistance there, support there, resistance, a little bit of resistance here before it was barely bouncing. That broke above, already found support here again. So just somewhere in this region, right? If it can get down in here and then start to kind of pause for like one of the 4-hour candles or even a 1-hour candle. Even the 1 hour, we can't just completely exclude the 1-hour chart. We can give it a little bit of grace. If the 1-hour candle starts bouncing up, okay, that's fine. But I like the 4-hour. So if it starts to bounce, we can just get into a buy. The buy would look something like this, right? It cannot be up here above the zone. It just screws up the risk structure. Like, look, if you're wanting to get a 1-to-2 risk reward ratio, you have to target quite far. I mean, in this case, it's reasonable, but you still have to target quite far. Let me show you if you don't do that, if you do the not so dumbass thing to do. And instead, I've just cloned this little thing. Let's say instead of that, let's say you do the exact same stop loss and the exact same target, but instead your entry's here at the zone. The risk reward becomes over doubled, right? So it's now went from a 1-to-2 to over a 1-to-4. And if you're just targeting a 1-to-2 here as well, price barely has to move off the zone, right? I've already got it drawn in there. It just has to come in there, hit the zone. I mean, you enter, put the stop loss, and it bounces. So what do you do if price comes in here to the zone, it hits your alert, the whole thing was planned out, but you missed the entry and it's already going off to the zone? What do you do? If you weren't able to get that entry, but now it's up here. Well, what you do is it's very simple. You just FOMO into the trade. You wait. That's what you do. You don't enter the trade. Damn it. You wait for it to come back into the zone. If it doesn't, it's okay. Let the trade go. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal. You get plenty of other opportunities. You can get multiple opportunities per week. I get sometimes, like last week, I got 4 trading opportunities, 50% win rate. I broke even on GBP AUD the first time. I technically made $8,000, but I just called it a break even. I lost this GBP AUD trade for $4,400. And then I only won 2 trades. Just GBP AUD trade here, all those entries, the 4 entries, and the 2 entries on USDCHF. I only won half my trades, right? So it's like, you'll get plenty of trades. Some weeks I'll get 10 trades. Some weeks I'll get 5 trades. Some weeks I'll get 2 trades. Like, it's just, you have plenty of opportunities. If you just simply waited on the opportunities where you get shittier entries, where it's like above the zone like this, and instead you just wait for the better entries, you'd be so much better off. You'd be so much better off, and you'd be so much more sexy. Your spouse would be more attracted to you because you have a better entry. You've got a bigger risk to reward ratio, a bigger TP, and your entry is just so nice and just so, it's just right there in the perfect spot, right? It's not above the zone, it's not below the zone. My wife is sitting here on the couch looking at me like I'm insane. She's like, what the fuck are you doing? So when it comes to this, it's better to not enter above the zone. Instead, just wait for it to be at the zone. I've spent the past 5 minutes talking about entries because that is how important they are. They're not important because you're able to predict price, because you can't predict price. They're important because it gives you a way better way of controlling risk. If you enter here and your stop loss is underneath the zone and your target's up here, well, sweet. It's an easy trade if it has the tiniest bit of a bounce up here to this next high, right? You're hitting your TP on this trade. And if you enter and it starts going sideways, you just close it break even. It's really, really good. A lot of these I hadn't found any setups yet. Euro CAD, I am personally convinced she'll be going to the upside. Some people were using this resistance zone right here, and they were thinking that it might be bouncing and going to the downside. I could totally see that. The problem is I just see that we have all these like higher lows. So what I've elected to do is I've elected to just say, you know what? Okay, yes, that could be the zone. I could be the one that's delusional and then it ends up, bouncing here and going to the downside. But I personally, I'm just kind of leaning towards this right here being the zone, and then price having bounced here as support. And as a matter of fact, you know what? I probably just like drag the zone, something like that. I know it doesn't really encapsulate these highs that pin past the zone, but most of the price action here where the wicks are and where the candle closures are and over here as well, this seems to be the area, and I think it's going to go up. I think it's more so likely to go up than down. Plus, we've got a little uptrend going. So, I'm going to stay looking for buys on EURUSD CAD. All this could change. So just like, keep in mind, like this is all kind of just very tentative. When I'm looking at charts, I'm like, okay, if this happens, then I'll do this. But if those things don't happen and they don't set up in the way that, it would need to for me to take the trade, I just abandon the trading idea, right? Price could do something that completely invalidates the trading idea like 5 minutes after I upload this video. So just keep in mind, this is all tentative, right? It's very like fluid, very dynamic, very mysterious, very nebulous, very foggy, orbiting a nucleus of ill-defined trading approaches of just like looking for support resistance and seeing if it's going to bounce or not. So just keep in mind, it's all tentative. Don't hold a gun to my head saying, you said you'd buy EURUSD CAD, but you sold. It's all very fluid and dynamic. But for now, yeah, I'm looking I think it'll go up, so I'll be looking to try to get into a buy, just depending on the situation. All right, so Euro GBP, man, she's been going sideways for quite some time. I'm still going to hold on to the same trading idea. I still think it's a reasonable idea. It's a support resistance zone here in the daily. I have my alert pretty deep here into the zone. Honestly, if I'm being realistic, it can probably come like a little bit further up right there. There's a couple things. I do think it's going to try to go up back to the highs just because we failed to break this support a little recently. We've had the first bounce was pretty nice off of it, and then we've had this little second bounce. That was nice. We're not going sideways at the zone. So the only real way I could be able to trade this is to like try to target like the previous highs here of this range, if you call it that. So what would that be? I mean, it would be like price breaking above this zone or just getting into a buy and then just trying to profit from that first little breakout squeeze as it goes up above. And then if I miss that, or even if I take that and then close the trade and profit, it will be then waiting for it to retest here. And then if it starts hitting there and retesting, and then it kind of bounces for a little bit on the 4 hour or the 1 hour, you know, if that's your thing, you like the 1 hour, perfectly fine. Just wait for it to start bouncing just for a second there, you know, 1 or 2 candles on those time frames. And then if that happens, then you just buy it again, back up to the highs. So how would the trade look like if we were doing a breakout? I mean, like, you know, let's say it starts breaking the highs up here, so it's going to the top. Well, regardless of where you enter, you'd want to have your stop underneath the little recent lows that get created. So the recent lows here at this zone, right? I mean, the idea would just be like, okay, price is coming here into the resistance. It tried to bounce and it's going back up, and then it tried to bounce. Then maybe it goes back up and it just starts making all these higher lows, like clustering up, looking like it's getting ready to just like lurch past the zone. Right, you want to look at where the hell the recent lows are, and draw them on your damn chart if you have to, you know, if I have to be able to see them. And then with those recent lows, you just draw a little zone, and then regardless of where you enter, let's say your entry happens to be up here, right? So price bounces here, pulls back, and then starts to go up, and then you enter like something like that, like right there. Your stop loss goes under the recent lows, and then target. On trades like these, that when they're breakouts, oftentimes I'll go for a 1-to-1 because they're so easy and so quick, right? And the breakout either happens or it doesn't. If it goes up here and then it hits these recent highs, and then it just starts to kind of turn around, and then it just starts to go sideways, then I could just get out. You know, you're at a little bit of profit, small loss, break even, whatever the hell it is, and it's fine. But if the breakout does occur, generally what I've seen happens is it'll go pretty quick, right? You'll have a huge like run up, and then it ends up like maybe starts tugging back before you take profit, and then you could just close the trade there. If you risk $10,000 on a trade like this, maybe you made $7,000 or $8,000 profit. Those work really well. The support resistance bounces, so like if it were to come back here and retest, right, and then start to bounce, this would be a little bit easier to get a little bit more of a risk reward, because let's say you get an entry there at the zone, stop underneath. Now you can have a nice little target right here because it's geared up a little bit higher, because it's already pulled back, it's already tried to break back under the zone, but instead it started to bounce. And then on that bounce, you know, it can generally fuel a move to go and make a new higher high. So a little bit higher risk rewards, 1 to 2, 1 to 3 off bounces like that. Those tend to work a little bit better. But for now, the only real thing I see right here is potential breakout above these little recent highs on Euro GBP. And that's how I structure the risk for it, whether I'm taking a breakout trade or a break and retest trade. Told you, you know, it's Labor Day. We're really putting in all the work, aren't we, here in this chart? I'm literally showing you everything. So why am I showing you everything? I'm just giving it all away. Hope you're happy. All right, AUD CAD. This is a really complicated trading opportunity, so I need you to pay very close attention as we break this down. You need to put your phone down. I mean, unless you're watching this on your phone. In that case, you need to keep your phone up and stare at the screen. So here's how the analysis is going to work. So for this one, we're going to wait till it comes here. We're going to sell at resistance. That's the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed. You know, hit the like button. I'll see you in the next one. I'm just playing. We'll break it down. So we're going to sell here at the resistance zone. That's it. That's literally it. Why? Because it's a resistance zone. How come? Because it looks like it's a clear resistance zone. Why is it a resistance zone? Because it just looks like price was bouncing there as a resistance zone. If you're going to put up a lot of resistance to me trying to resist telling you that this resistance zone is not the best resistance zone that you've ever resisted in your entire life, of this whole resistance you're having to like learning trading in a good way, I won't resist you. But what I will say is this resistance zone here, it's just pretty clearly defined. Like whether you go to the daily chart, whether you go to the 4-hour chart, right? I mean, so you'll see that I've included all of this up here. So it's like I haven't just included these little highs here. I've also drug it all the way to that high and then these little sets of highs, just to kind of just to kind of be inclusive here, right? We're really inclusive here on my channel. We like to include all the little highs at the resistance zone. We don't like to leave anybody out. Everybody's invited to the party. Come on. But here recently, on the 4 hour, I guess you can see all these little recent highs is kind of where price has been bouncing. So that's where I have my alert at. So what would the trade look like? Well, I would sell here at this resistance zone. And what I would do is, the thing is I don't want to put a stop just above these highs. Because if you do that, right, price could just come here to the major zone and then bounce at those highs, or even technically go a little bit past it and still fall. So what I would do, this would be one where I put the stop up above these highs up here. And then in this case, instead of it being a 1-to-2 risk reward ratio, it would only be a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. Because I mean, this is the 4 hours of the daily chart. You'd have to get a nice move that could take a week or two and that's if it even happens to get like a 1-to-2 down here with the stop being that far, or a 1-to-3 down here at the lows. I don't know. I just think it'd be easier to just take a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio. I'm just trying to show you the dynamics behind, like, sometimes it's a 1-to-2, sometimes it's a 1-to-1, sometimes it's a 1-to-69 risk reward ratio. My personal favorite risk reward ratio is 1-to-69. You just get a great entry all the time. But in this case, it'd be a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio for me. A lot of you might ask, like, hey, why don't you just set an alert here at these highs and you just sell up there? Because I mean, then look, you have your entry up there, you could have your stop loss just above the zone, and then keep the same target, right? Now you have a 1-to-2 risk reward ratio. Why don't you just do that, Nick? The thing is that could set up, yes, but it wouldn't be as likely to set up. So it's like, it'd be one of these things where it's like, it would be worth a shot to enter here at these little recent highs. And then if I'm wrong about it and it goes up to bounce at those previous highs and it still starts turning over, well, I can still get out of my original trade that I had down here. I could still get out of that. At least break even, right? So it's just one of those things where it's just part of my discretion experience. But you could do the same little stupid argument for everything, right? You could say like, okay, look, why are you selling right there? Why not just wait for these highs? Why are you selling at those highs over here? Why can't you just wait for those? And then the person who's selling there, you'd be like, well, why not just wait for these highs up here? Because this is the good highs. And if you're selling right there, you could have some crazy schizophrenic person saying, well, if you're going to do that, then why not just wait these highs? Then you end up like never selling at any resistance zone, and you end up quitting trading because you couldn't decide to just make the decision to just sell at the damn zone. So that's why I'm selling at the little recent highs there on the 4 hour. And that is why I'm just ignoring kind of all the rest of this bullshit for now. Okay, so it's like not even, there we go. Okay, sweet. So that is AUD CAD. So there's a lot of the other setups I was looking at that I didn't really find much on. There's pretty good trading opportunities on a couple things this week. USDJPY, I'm scared of it. I don't even talk about USDJPY. I have a little PTSD. I don't really like what's going on. Things are going sideways. This kind of scares me. We could break below the support zone, right? Because we're having all these little like lower highs right here. But we could also bounce here and go all the way back to the recent highs. And then where the hell are the recent highs? Is it this? Or is it these? Or is it that high up there? Or is it going to make a new high? I don't know. Kind of scares me. Probably I won't be trading USDJPY this week. It's just me personally. I have an alert here. I'm going to delete the alert. This alert was from early last week. I'm going to just delete that alert. Okay. AUDUSD, I don't see much either. We look like we're going sideways in a kind of a range looking thing. So I'm just going to like kind of leave this alone. NZD-USD, I was looking at this last week. There's a couple things. There's like a little downtrend we've got going on right now. What is a downtrend? Price makes a low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. And then what might happen, class? What might happen, guys? Once it makes another lower high, what might happen next? Ding, 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 ding. We don't know. No, I'm just playing. Yeah, what happens next? It might go down. I'm in a downtrend. My wife is like laughing at me again. She's having to teach you guys these super simple, stupid concepts. She's like, are these people that you're teaching that idiotic that they can't look at the damn chart and see that it's going down? People use all sorts of indicators and Fibonacci and moving averages and all this shit. I'm like, just look at it. If it's making lower lows and lower highs and it pulls back, maybe it'll go down. Now you combine that with something like this, which is a support resistance zone, and then it can give you a little bit more context. So now, even though this whole shit here, lower lows and lower highs, this looks to me like it's going to go up. Why? Because it had the opportunity to pull back and go down there, did not make a new low. Instead, it had these two little lows came up here. Then we got above the recent high, This little just recent high right there. Got above the recent high. And then this price action is very telling for me. This is kind of the most of it. It's pushing up, pulls back, quickly goes back up, pulls back, quickly goes back up, pulls back, quickly goes back up. We're having all these like bullish tails right here. This kind of tells me price is going to be trying to go up further from here. So that's why I'm not going to be taking like sells on this right. As a matter of fact, it looks like it's already it's tried to break and retest this zone, right? It broke below the lows, came back, retested, tried to bounce. We did not get a new low here. She failed the test of whether or not the sellers were going to be in charge. So in this case, I could see price continuing up. I could also see some shit like this where it falls back here into the zone and then tests and then goes up, because right here is kind of this like little major daily support resistance zone. So I'm kind of going to be waiting on this one. I could totally see buys from here. But I don't see anything right this moment. We're seeing price kind of squeeze up there in that lower time frame. I think an alert right here would be good. Something like that. And then a potential trade that looks maybe something like this. So buying here, stop below and target above. Yeah, I can see like a 1 to 2 target. As long as it's like maybe before that high, it'll just make it a little bit easier. So there we go. Here's the reason I'll be buying in a downtrend, right? A lot of this stuff you have to take into the context, right? Like, so a lot of people, they'll just say, nope, they got to stick to the rules. It's this and that. You do this and that. Yes, like you can stick to some basic trading criteria. Like, okay, if it's at a support resistance zone, I'll wait for it to get there. Then I'll decide whether or not to buy or sell. You could do that. But there's going to be instances where you use your experience to kind of make a decision that, you know, just kind of like helps you get a little bit more insight into what the hell's going on here. We got to really put in the work. Again, it's literally Labor Day today here in 2025. We're having to put in the labor to decide, do we think the damn chart is going to go up or down at the support resistance zone? All this is going to come from experience. So you just have to get that applied experience, and then it manifests itself, presents itself as a feeling. We just call it intuition. Where we're looking at a chart and you're like, yes, it's lower lows and lower highs. Yes, it's in a downtrend. Yes, it's at a resistance zone, break and retest at a support resistance zone, and yet you still think it's not a good idea to sell. And people are like, what the hell's the matter with you, bro? And none of them are profitable, but you're profitable and you can't even explain why you think it's not going to bounce, but instead you don't sell. And instead you get into a buy. Everyone thinks you're delusional and it ends up going into profit and hits your 2R profit target. Experience matters. Don't abandon it. That's why I'm looking for buys here, even though it's in like a little literal downtrend. We'll see what happens though. It's not my favorite setup. There's a bunch of other setups that are good. CHF JPY, we're not even going to give this one the time of day. What the hell is going on? Is this a pullback before we have another huge sell-off, or is it just a retrace before we have another pop upwards? The world may never know. This has been going sideways since the beginning of August. It's the 1st of September now. I cannot believe it's the 1st of September. This year's gone by so fast. Holy shit. So we've been going sideways for a month. I don't see anything there. I'm going to run away. I'm even more scared of that than USDJPY. USD CAD, I don't see anything here either. There's a couple different zones price could bounce at, but it all just seems too kind of hairy and foggy to me. This is the zone that me and some of my clients were looking at this week, but I don't know. I don't really want to, so I'm just not going to do it. So I'm just going to like not trade that. Euro AUD, I was looking at this earlier this week. I was thinking she might go to the downside and break below this area. A lot of these zones are just really hairy, so that's why it's been so down so low on my list. I don't even know if I would be buying like right here. That looks like a decent zone here on the daily, but I don't know. I really don't know. This looks very, very, very silly. Very, very silly. So I don't think I'm going to be trading that this week. CAD JPY. We've already got AUDJPY potential up here, so I'm just going to kind of wait for that. CAD JPY, it's really correlated. They're both JPY pairs. I'm probably just going to leave this one alone. I don't really see anything clear. Euro JPY, we've been going sideways for a while, which scares me, but I personally think she's going to break to the upside, so we'll see what happens. I don't see any trades, though. Euro USD, it's kind of too rangy. It's patching sideways. We are here at a resistance zone, which, temporarily, you know what? I'm probably going to call this trade out. Yeah, okay, yeah. At least temporarily, I think it's going to have a little tug away from this zone. Let me see kind of how I would structure it. Entry there, stop just above, just a 1-to-1 target. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm probably going to call this one out. Okay, sweet. So I'm going to take this trade. You'll see it's like very, very simple, right? Price came to a daily resistance zone with a stop above the zone and a target below. This is just like saying like, okay, there's this support zone down here, and then with price bouncing at that, it's just had a quick bounce all the way up to this resistance zone, and now we're quickly rejecting. That's a good. It's nice. It's very, very nice. It's just for a little tug away, it's perfect. And if it breaks above, cool. You know, we'll sell again maybe here at one of these resistance zones. We'll have to see what sets up at that time. But so what I'm gonna do is I have this little live trading group here. I disabled the group chat. It's just a place where you can follow all my trades. Again, last week, like this was the day we made $70,000 on GBP AUD. Last week, $95,000. Every single trade is called live in here. What I'll do is just for the next, let's say 24 to 48 hours, perhaps I'll keep it open longer. I'll reopen it from time to time. I will put a link for you to join this group if you want to join it in the description below, maybe the pinned comment too. It's a monthly subscription, so you can join it. I'll probably be raising the price soon, but it's literally me just calling out my trades. So if you just want to risk a lot of money and follow my trades, you'll either make a lot of money or you'll lose a lot of money. And, you know, depending on when you join, maybe on a huge win streak, like right now, past 2 weeks, I've made like I said, 150 grand. And we may be on a losing streak. Maybe a week, you know, I lose like 50 grand, 75 grand. So it just kind of depends. If you join, just like for freak's sake, stay for a couple months, because if you only stay for like a month, we may be on like, you know, a losing streak or maybe a break even month. That happens a couple times throughout the year, and then you just be frustrated. So if you join, don't join this group unless you're gonna be staying for a couple months. That way you can actually see everything play out and come to fruition, and you can see the long-term stats of it. So I'll put a link below that way you can join it here. I'm gonna go call this EURUSD trade out right now in the group, and we'll kind of see. This will be our first trade of the week, and then I'm gonna glance through everything else here. GU is similar to EU, NJ, GBP NZD. I generally don't like trading this one just because the spreads get so big sometimes, so I might be passing on that. GBP JPY, this looks like EUROJPY. Looks like it's going to be going to the upside, so we'll be breaking past resistance. GBP CAD is kind of in a range going sideways, and then we're back to EJ. Okay. I'll be putting GJ up here as well. What I'll be doing is watching this one. Let me see what we're looking like. There's a lot of hairy stuff here on the 4-hour chart, so okay, probably keeping that one. All right, sweet. Well, I'm going to go and enter this EURUSD trade. I think right now, I don't know if I'll wait for a pullback. I'll probably just enter right now because we're getting like a nice bear close. 7:46 a.m. This 4-hour candle closes in 14 minutes, and if it closes like that, it's a great trade worth taking. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. So, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. I'll hop off the video. If you like this video, that's great. I'm not going to ask you to like the video, though, because you're old enough, I would hope, to know what to do. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe. I'm not going to ask you to do shit. You do whatever the hell you want to do, and I'm going to go do what I want to do, which is to finish my coffee and enter this EURUSD trade. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.